Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Flux Motorsport TV. You're with your host for the evening, Lecky_2000, and it's that time again. It's just gone 8 PM on a Thursday evening, and it's time for the GT1 Championship. So welcome. Thanks very much for tuning in. If you are just joining us and it's the first time watching Flux Motorsport TV, and then please hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell notification icon. Make sure you get notified of our videos for the very next one that comes out. After our GT1s, obviously, as per usual, we've got our GTEs on Friday night, so that is around at 8 PM EST. But back to tonight, we've got McToasty working the cameras again for us. McToasty's going to be joining us in the box, so good evening, McToasty.
Hello. Yes, definitely looking forward to another exciting GT1 race, and another one with some interesting weather. So it should be good.
Indeed, yes. Weather is going to be a big factor here, I think. I know the guys have been umming and ahhing about what to do with tyres, about what the weather's going to do. And correct me if I'm wrong, McToasty, but I think this is possibly going to be the third out of 4 wet races.
Yes, I think so.
So just looking at the forecast, though, from what the guys are trying to do with the tyres, I think they're all out on dries at the moment. The track does look pretty dry. Is looking a little bit cloudy overhead, but nothing too bad. Maybe a couple of spits and spots might come in during qualifying, but we're not scheduled for any rain actually till the race itself. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye on the weather forecast. We'll try and bring that to you as we go through qualifying here. So the guys have just got the 15 minutes left of qualifying left. About 5 minutes or so put onto track, and the guys are just starting to put some times in now. So Lingabazinga, as we would expect, coming in top of the shop at present with a 1:25.1, but I suspect there's going to see some much quicker times coming in than that as we go throughout our qualifying session. So just a little bit about where we are this week and a little bit about our drivers. So just coming on the rundown of the table from last week. Last week saw us at actually a dry but a very, very cold Indianapolis road circuit. Temperatures, I know, down there very cold. Guys struggling with tyres yet again, so it's not been easy for the guys this season, no matter what they've been doing, whether it's been the wet tyres or it's been dry conditions, mainly due to the winter conditions that we've had here. So, but coming from the last race, we had in first spot Lingabazinga. Lil God came in second, and we had eMotorsports in third. So I would be expecting these 3 fellas to be putting in some of the quickest times around here today. But without going through all of the previous rounds, the results here, what I'm going to do is just give you a quick rundown of these standings. So top of the shop we have Lingabazinga again, Lil God in second place, eMotorsports in third. So 1, 2, 3 in the standings as it was last race. And then in fourth spot we have Jelma, as we just see TTV Giacomo going around there. With 45 points, he comes in behind eMotorsports with 54. So a bit of a gap there, 9 points or so up until the jump, but certainly not something that can't be closed up in one race. Just behind that is Murphy in 5th spot. Snarling Bongo Cup comes up just behind Murphy in 6th with 34 points. Jack de Mendes in 7th with 33. Black Farm, middle of the road, 8th spot with 28 points. Dirk Diggler just behind him in 9th with 23. Tied on points with Merlin. Now Merlin was a reserve driver and he's joined with us only halfway through the season so far, so he only joined us in race 2. But as we know, the guys that have raced in race 2 do, or any reserves, do still look through the points. So albeit they might have been in the standings the previous week, Merlin is there and he's got 23 points this week, so he comes in with a 23 pointer. Just behind him is TC Thrasher in the 11th spot with 15 points. And we had a retiree, so Pro Fubby is no longer with us. And he retires, he was in 12th spot, which allows Best Gamer to move up to 12th spot. Destroyer up to 13th. Ben Villar, who was in 15th spot with 7 points, is now retired as well. And that's allowed Giacomo to jump up. Okay, so that's our rundown from the standings table from where we were last time. What are your predictions so far compared to what we've had, Toast, and what you've seen so far throughout the season? Do you think we're going to see Lingabazinga coming out reigning supreme again, or do you think there's going to be an upset at this track?
I think the Mercedes are going to be very strong here, especially if we have the wet weather coming. They do have the assists available, traction control and ABS, as do the Toyotas. But Toyotas just seem to struggle around tracks like this, and of course the Pannas with no assist going to be real difficult through the high curves and the chicanes, having to set that car up just right in order to put the power down.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think as we've seen time and again in the GT1s, when the wet weather does start to come into effect, cars with assists do tend to perform better. It's just the natural way of things. As we see TTV just going round it again though, so we'll stop giving the commentators curse and see if we can get a little eye on Lingabazinga. Yeah, but just going back to what you were saying, McToasty, I think you're right. I think the traction control is going to play a big part in the fact that the Toyota and the Mercedes both have traction control. It's going to impede the panels. And I think you're right. I think the CLK is going to do it just a little bit better at that wet weather. I don't think it's got the open space. I don't think it's got quite enough track to let the Toyota really open its legs and really get a stretch on the other guys. So too many tight chicanes, I think too many corners for that Toyota. However, we do have some decent runners. Jack de Menezes is still in the Toyota. He was second place in our championship last season, so we know he's a capable driver. We have had a couple of new drivers come in, some new talent into the field, so that is making it a little bit more of an upset for some of the drivers. But Jack doing 5th and 10th in his last races, which is a little bit of a surprise there for Jack. Jack currently sat in our pits, so we can't give you much action on Jack at the moment. But Merlin, or Totenkopf, as his username says, is a relatively new driver to the GT1s. Like I said, he comes in with 23 points, and he is one of the drivers that potentially will be causing upset. So, just taking a look at where that would put him in our standings with our retirees. Yep, so there's no change, so he would still sit in 10th place. He comes into this championship in 10th place, as it were. Already he's snapping at the heels. He's 10 points off Jack de Menezes, and like we said, 9 to 10 points is not undoable in a race here. All it's going to take is a couple of spins from one of the guys at the front, and all the field changes. So, just going back to the weather though, I think it's starting to look a bit grey. I don't know about you, McToasty, but the sky looks like it's clouded over a little bit more and more we go through qualifying.
Yeah, it's looking a little ominous. We're definitely having a bit of that qualifying cloud though, where the track cools off and the soft tires really come into their temperature zone, and yeah, the track seems to get a little quicker. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens.
I'm gonna probe you on that point just a little bit in terms of tyres. I mean, given that we're due some wet weather and we're expecting potentially there to be some dry track out there, do you think the guys are going to go for softs or hards?
Yeah, it's a tough choice. If the race starts, if we end up with rain in the beginning, we could see some drivers come onto the soft tires after there's a dry racing line out there. But even if they stray just a little bit off that dry racing line when it appears, they're going to be on some wet track and definitely have some difficulties.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the selection of tyre choice and when the guys come in is going to play a big part as well. So I don't think it's just going to be which tyres they choose, but when they choose the tyres, I think it's going to play a massive effect. So again, we'll keep you posted on that weather report. But just as we come back to our guys through our qualifying session, they've got 8 minutes left, or just under 8 minutes left at this stage, and we're just taking a look at Destroyer as he comes on the track. So Destroyer in that distinctive green and gold livery, number 5 livery there. Well, as we see, I think that was Jelma going around just behind him. I think that was the yellow and white car of Jelma taking a large chunk out of the wall there, just coming through that section. But Destroyer, yeah, currently putting in 125 threes, just behind Lingabazinga. So Destroyer was 14th in our standings coming into this round. So that is a very interesting result there from Destroyer. Looks like he's got whatever problems that he had last week sorted out in that car. and he's certainly flying this week, potentially knocking Lingabazinga off top spot, or certainly looking like it's capable. 0.284 difference between Destroyer and Lingabazinga at this stage. We'll just click down to black file, so black file in the panels. So throwing a little bit up in the air to our statements earlier so far, McToasty, that we expect the Mercedes to do best out here. Black file still doing a pretty good job here, sticking it in third, only half a second or so, and I think that's a little bit of rain. I think it is indeed. I don't know whether you confirm. Is that rain hitting your window, Toasty?
Oh yeah, I see it too. Yeah, it's starting to come down.
So I think that's it in terms of lap times. I think for 6 minutes left in our qualifying session, that essentially that is going to be it. This is the wet weather in now. So I wonder whether this will remain throughout the race, or whether it's going to turn patchy and we might get to see this dry up again. But I think we're potentially going to get light showers throughout the day, and this is potentially it for our lap times now. So I think we're probably going to see one or two guys starting to come in the pits, get the very, very last use out of the dry tyres they can, whilst there's still just a little bit of dry track left. And we can see that now. So Gelmus, Survivor, Dirt Dig with TTV all coming into the pits now. And Lil God again. Lil God dropping a little bit further back down the order than I would have expected. Currently 5th, so if he's been trying to get his setup right for the long stint that we've got during the race, and he's not been focusing on qualifying, then that will have bit him in the backside here, and potentially any drivers. Yeah, we've seen enough the full grid coming in there and the spray kicking up, and it doesn't look like just a little bit of spray. It looks like the heavens have opened here.
Oh yeah, we can already see a large amount of spray coming off the cars, and that'll only increase when they put wet tires on. I think it'll just displace more water.
I think you're right. I mean, I know from driving around here previously, not so much in the GT1s, but in some other cars, the amount of spray that you can get on some of the back stretches, or even just coming into Erst into turn 1, can be very, very difficult. Standing water is not something that is that you've got to you can ignore on this track. So there's parts on the back stretch just coming into the Klein chicane. That's very difficult trying to get into that section. Same with just after the hairpin at Boulder. That can be quite a tricky section as you come through as you've got the minor chicane that just comes after it just at Yorken. And I think that's going to cause a few problems. Like you said, for the guys that really are either running harder setups or that are really struggling with that traction control. But it does look like we get a little bit of sunshine. Sorry just to cut you off there, Toasty.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're seeing a couple cars coming out on wet tires and potentially full wet race setups, and just to scout out the track and see where those areas where puddles might be building up throughout the race. And
yeah, I think with the aero that these cars are running, they will actually try and clear a dry line pretty quickly if the rain does stop. But it's not going to get rid of that pooling water, like you said. Watching for the puddles on here is going to be a big issue. As you see just there, as they come into the Shank section there, as he entered that section, all the spray coming up and kicking up into it. I think that's eMotorsports just behind Jack there. And you see it then just as he gets the power down, all that spray kicking up. So eMotorsports won't be able to see, and he's literally fractions of a second away from the rear end of that Toyota there. As they come into turn 1, he tries to make a move, just going into turn 2, which I'm not even going to try and pronounce. Call it Sterren for the sake of argument, as he comes into canal box. And again, hard on the power, so we've not managed to make it round. But these guys really shouldn't be racing in qualifying. I think it is just a feature of the track at the moment, with it being so wet. Both of these guys are struggling for grip, and as it happens, we've got a bit of a race on our hands during qualifying. I'm sure that isn't the intention. The guys will know better than to do that, as we see Jack cutting the chicane there just a little bit. So I hate to say it again, I say it every single week, but that Toyota struggles without a front wing. It's got an awful lot of power, but there's not an awful lot in terms of front grip there at times. Looks like we've got a bit of a spinner there, just coming through the chicane section at Villeneuve, I believe that was.
Yeah, just a little track history. Neither of the chicanes that they've gone through just now existed when the track opened in 1963. The first named Klein chicane, the second Villeneuve. Klein chicane was added in 1972. 86 was when Villeneuve chicane was added, named after him, Gilles Villeneuve, as a tribute to his unfortunate accident here. And then 2001, Sector 1 was pretty much completely overhauled, turns 1 through 4. And then 2006 and 7, different versions of the Klein chicane and the pit entry and exit redone, shortening the track a bit, but definitely adding some challenge, but slowing the cars down to make it a safe place for high-speed cars like these.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, would drivers agree with that, do you think? I mean, Klein chicane, like you said, it's had a couple of remodels over the years, but currently the amount of curb that the guys risk taking on Klein chicane can cause some upsets, and I've certainly seen it in the GT3s more than once. These cars will still suffer the same again. A lot of power on these cars, and not an awful lot in terms of aero clearance. You certainly can't cut the Klein chicane like you can with a touring car.
Right. There's not much option with ride height. Changing that on these cars, they're very close to the ground, so it's very high risk, high reward with these chicane curves.
Yeah, and somebody suffering there, which is Giacomo again. So, like you said, in the panels without the traction controller, you can see him just getting fishtailing just as he comes through to start the car off again there, just coming into second gear. So he is really struggling. Wipers going 10 to the dozen, and it looks very wet out there on track. Doesn't look like the skies are completely going to pour it down though. It looks like we're still getting a bit of sun through clouds. So I think we could see this on and off rain really cause some upsets. I think it's all going to be down to tyre choice. Genuinely, I think we're going to see some people pit once, potentially even twice. I don't think the wet tyres are going to last 45 minutes around here. I think if it remains a wet race, it's going to be 2 stops. If it switches to dry, potentially, it's going to be a 1 stop, and that is it for our qualifying session. So we were right in before Lingabazinga, top of the shot with the 125. There is in that distinctive Gerhardt livery, black and rainbow coloured livery as it is. And he puts it a 125.0. Just behind him, we've got Destroyer coming in the green and gold solvent livery. Just 2 tenths of a second, or almost 3 tenths of a second behind him, with a 125.3. And Blankfile, who's currently in our pits, pulling up in 3rd place. So eMotorsports dropping a little bit back down to 6th place here. So I was expecting a better result from eMotorsports, but Little God managing to climb his way up there into 5th and just hip him to the post there. But Destroyer with an absolutely great lap there, absolutely great. I mean, coming from 14th in the standings, that is an absolutely superb lap.
Yeah, we have the console on the YouTube chat saying great effort from Destroyer. I agree.
Yeah, I think he's certainly going to be one to watch in the race. Whether he can maintain that, whether that's a qualifying lap, I'm not sure. He didn't fare too well in last week's race. There wasn't particularly any inquiries though, so nothing really in terms of the GT1 inquiries to write home about that would have changed the order too much. I know that inquiries were submitted last week, and the stewards had a busy time in the stewards' inquiry room, but GT1 not faring there. So, just as we come to the end of qualifying, a quick rundown of our current pole sitter, which is Lingabazinga, and then on the first row to join him is Destroyer. Just behind that on the second row is Blankfile and Snell and Bongo, 3rd and 4th. Little God and Immortalis come on the row behind that, 5th and 6th. Merlin and Jack in 7th and 8th. Chelma, or Martin is 65 as you know him, in 9th, Survivor in 10th. Dirk Diggler and Giacomo come up 11th and 12th, and rounding us off is TC Thrasher and Murphy. Murphy putting in not a great lap at all, so I think Murphy's struggling with his setup there. Barely setting a cold lap time, I feel. So as we will try and get these things underway, the guys are going to get a couple of minutes now to just put the final adjustments to the setups as we get under starters orders and the lights come down. if you're just joining us here, you were just about to get underway with the race, our GT1 race. It is currently a wet track at Zolder. We come into this round with Lingabazinga in first place, and we are expecting potentially the same result. Do you think he's going to get the 1, 2, 3 again, Toasty?
Yeah, we'll see. The other Mercedes cars are definitely going to challenge him here. It's going to be difficult for Destroyer starting on the. Oh wait, no, he's on the inside. It's a turn 1 is a left, so.
It's one of the only ones that I think on the calendar that we've got that is actually a left turn at the start, other than some of the oval tracks. But yeah, I think is the inside line going to be the better line there? I've seen cars get their nose taken off there from people not using the mirrors on the outside. I hope that isn't going to happen here, and the guys really should know better than to do that in the wet. But potentially, I think the optimum line could be the outside line here, just because of the wet weather.
Right, and because it turns into the inside line for turns 2 and 3.
Exactly, and they are very fast turns. The two next turns, the two long right-handers, lots of undulations on those tracks. The suspension's got to be set just so, and if you get it wrong, it's 2 to 3 tenths of a second in each of those turns. So, I personally think my prediction. I think he's going to do it again. I think he's going to get fastest lap, pole position, and the win. I think he's going to do the 1, 2, 3 again, do the triple, and that will make it his triple. So just as the lights come down, we get underway here, and we are go for our GT1 race. Lingabazinga is in first place, coming up behind him is Stalin Bongo. Stalin Bongo gets a great start, undercuts Destroyer there for putting into second place, and Destroyer falling way back down the order. Lingabazinga getting a good start, Stalin Bongo following through just behind him. But Immortalis coming up into third place now. Destroyer holding on just about to fourth. Looks like he's dropping back down that order further still. And that is letting Gelma come up through into fourth place, and Jack Demens is into fifth, so Jack picking up some spots now. Immortalis getting a what looks like a face full of Lingabazinga there, so Lingabazinga going just a little sideways there. Looks like the wet weather catching him out already, but that's allowed Snarling Bongo to jump through, and Immortalis to jump through as well, so Lingabazinga back down to third place now. As they come over this crest, Jack Demens is in fourth. Looks like he's getting a bit of a gap between him and Lingabazinga, so it may be 1, 2, 3 with the rest of the pack following him. Jack's trying to keep up though. It looks like we still have got a bit of a dry line on the inside of that apex there, and I just wonder how long we're going to get that in lap 1. We've no more movers and shakers at this stage during lap 1, but they are certainly all bunched up together, and this wet weather is going to make it very, very interesting. So as we come through onto the back straight now, just coming into the last 2 turns, is that a little flash from Immortalis with his lights on, and it could be anybody's for first place here as they come snaking through the final chicane back onto the pit straight. Lingabazinga looks like he's going to try and push a move on Snarling Bongo here, pushing Snarling to the inside. He's not got the pace to try and make it all the way around the outside, and that has let Immortalis come up, and that looks like it's contact. That's going to be Stewart's inquiry. Both the Dutchmen here getting into contact into turn 1, and Urs claiming his first victim there, and they are going to have to wait to come back on track whilst all the field comes past them. So that's allowed Destroyer to come back through. Destroyer had dropped back down to 6th spot, and he's managed to claw his way back up there, up into 2nd, and past Immortalis now. So it looks like he's just about got past Immortalis, and he's now chasing the back of Jack, so this could be anybody's race. Just coming back over to blank file. Sorry Toasty.
Oh, I was gonna say it just looked like the car of I think it was it Snarling who I already forgot who made contact or might have made contact.
I don't know whether that was Snow. We'd have to go to the replay for that.
Yeah, I was thinking it might have just been sliding with the braking because he was losing downforce on the front behind the car. And even with ABS, you can extend a braking zone unintentionally.
I think you're right. I think pushing just a little bit too hard and creating just a situation where you've taken too much speed coming into that corner is potentially what's caused the issue there. As we come down again into the same corner that we've just seen, The last final chicane, eMotorsports getting a little squirrely there, but no, it's Jack de Mendes right behind him trying to apply pressure, and Destroyer that's dropped back down to 3rd place with Blankfile closing right in up behind him, and Gelman trying to put a move on Blankfile, doesn't get that done and backside of it just at the right point, manages to take enough speed off without actually losing traction at the front end, and allows him to come for a second run. So I think Blankfile just making himself really big out on track here. Gelman's trying to find a way around him. He's not managing to do that so far. In fact, he's putting distance in between him now, and he's caused that spin from Lingabazinga to just be nullified when he was on the back of Gelman there. So Blankfile looked like he's driving a very clever race already. We're back over to our front runners. Jack de Mendes just coming up through the chicane with the Destroyer following him. 1 second gap just between him and 1st place eMotorsports at this stage. We've only had 5 minutes gone. It feels like we've done about 40 laps already. We're only on to lap 3, and we've got 40 minutes left to go of this race. If you are just joining us, please do hit the like and subscribe button. It's been non-stop action so far, and I don't see it going anywhere yet. I don't know about you, McToasty, but I'm tired already.
Yeah, there's been plenty going on, that's for sure.
But yeah, as you can see, Destroyer still on the back of Jack now, so this is the battle for 2nd spot. Destroyer again with great lap times there. I'd be interested to see, just as they come over the timing line this time round, what our current lap times are in the wet, because I don't really think the guys have got the opportunity to really put the car through its paces. There'll be a little bit of rubber being laid down onto track here now, whilst there's that many cars going round continuously, so we might see the lap times improve a little bit from the wet qualifying times, but they won't be anything like what they've been in the dry. So 2nd place still being hounded. Destroyer will not leave him alone, and that train behind him with Blankfile keeping these at bay, letting these two fight it out here. So Jack and Destroyer will be thanking him for this, that he's not applying too much pressure. And I think the question is the rest of the field going to catch up? So just coming behind that gaggle of cars into 7th place, a little bit of a run down the order while we come into the second part of lap 4. Lil God in 7th place. Murphy looks like he's come all the way up from the back of the grid, so that's been a great start from Murphy. There must have been a spin between the guys at the back. It's allowed Murphy to climb up through there. Either that or he's driving the nuts off that car today. Just behind him we've got Survivor. Again, doesn't look like there's too much damage, so potentially not caught up in too much of an incident. He comes to be 9th. Digley just behind him there that you can see in 10th place. Yeah, in the black panels this time. Merlin's dropped all the way back down to 11th, so that's a shame for Merlin. Did come into this with a bit of a promising standing from race 1 and race 2. And TTV Giacomo, who we saw spinning in qualifying, really struggling there in 12th place. TC Thrasher all the way back down in 13th, and Snarling really bit the dust though when he took damage, so I suspect that's a pit stop from Snarling there, and he's got the damage repaired. So we're just back over to our leaders, and no change at the top so far. Jack de Mendes still being hounded by Destroyer. Blankfile still in 4th spot, but now Lingabazinga looks like he's made his way up through the grid, up past Jelmer, up into 5th spot, and I think it's just a matter of time before he starts trying to put the manoeuvres on here, as Blankfile now really get involved in the action, and he's made it stick, so he gets on the inside. Back end of that car getting a bit squirrely, so he couldn't get the power down. He's had to drop back again as they come into turns 2 and 3. No, Blankfile can't get that manoeuvre done. He's stuck right with him though, again right in the dirty which is not easy in these cars, and right in the spray, and he's gone straight down the inside. I think he is going to get this manoeuvre done now here. Is he going to get the run here? That Panos has got a lot of power, but it's whether she can get it down. And that's allowed Destroyer to take the inside. He breaks in time. That's allowed Lingabazinga to get right back up. So these two guys fighting has allowed Linga to get close right into the back of Blankfile, and he's going to try and manoeuvre around the outside. As they come over the crest, we can't see it. I think he's just about... He's not quite got it done, but we did see contact in the background there. So that was Lil God, I think, and Jelmer just getting into a bit of a kerfuffle in the chicane. And Lil God getting it wrong on the brakes. But this is the battle for 4th spot now between Lingabazinga and Blankfile. Lingabazinga trying at every opportunity, whether he's trying to make Blankfile nervous or whether he's actually trying these as proper moves, I can't tell at this stage, but he's certainly all over the back of that car. That's allowed eMotorsports to get a bit of a gap here, so almost 7 seconds between himself as he comes around Erst. And Jack de Mendes is just a little bit behind that. Jack will be happy that he's not getting the spray anymore and he's not in the dirty air, and being at the front of this pack will be in a strong position for him. But again, we didn't expect that Toyota to do too well, and we know it can be difficult with the tyres, so I expect Jack probably is going to try and fend these guys off as we get through this race. We'll keep you posted. Hopefully he can do well. He's been looking for some decent points after a second place in the championship last season, as it looks like he gives a place up there, so maybe we spoke too soon, and that is the curse of the commentator. And that looks like Destroyer coming through, so Destroyer coming back up past Blank File and trying it on with Jack now, and that was a little bit too cheeky, I think, though. He's going to have to take a slowdown penalty for that, and that's allowed Blank File through again. So this is a great race here between Jack, Blank File and Destroyer. So far it could be anybody's, and again we've got contact there, so it was only a matter of time. They couldn't go too wide through all the chicanes, and a Blank File just coming off a little bit worse there, so again we're going to have to go to the stewards' inquiries, I think, for that one. What was your take on that, Toasty?
Villeneuve chicane, yeah, very difficult to take too wide, and these cars are very wide, so yeah, it's...
I think he potentially got the move done. He had his nose just up the inside. I mean, whether the stewards saw that or whether that's going to be available from the slow-mo replay that we've got, I'm not too sure, or whether that's just my take on it, but it looks to me like he had the move done there. It's going to feel very unfortunate that the Black Files have been turned around there, but essentially you go shoulder to shoulder and these things do happen. So that's allowed Jack de Mendes to try and get a bit of a gap, and Lingabazinga to try and close up with Destroyer, and now he's just coming past him on the inside of turn 2 into turn 3, and I think that is going to be Lingabazinga set free now from that gaggle of cars. As long as he doesn't make any more mistakes like he did in lap 1, I'm expecting that he will start to close Jack down now. Destroyer, though, clearly got some speed, clearly got some pace. I think he's one that we really need to watch in this championship going forward. He's not really been somebody that's made his face known that much. He's been quiet and sat at the back, but he's certainly come out punching in this race.
Immortalis setting another 1:33.8. Oh, that's 3 laps. He's just been I don't know if he's pushing at this point and planning a 2-stop, but yeah, that's the pace that everyone else is looking for right now.
A real snatch though, as he came into the final chicane. It really looked like he was pulling hard on the steering there. So I think, like you said, he's really pushing hard. I think this is going to be an early pit stop for Immortalis. But then again, with a 12-second gap, you might actually be able to make that work. We'll just go over back to our battle for second place where the action's at. Lingabazinga managing to keep Destroyer just behind him, and if anything create a bit of a gap there, so whether there's damage there on Destroyer's car after that coming together with Blank File earlier. Blank File's not dropped too far down the order, a space maybe, but potentially got that back up, so he's down in 5th spot at the moment. I don't know whether he's going to be able to, again, if there's damage, don't know if he's going to be able to catch up with the front runners here, but whether he can maintain 5th and hold Jelmer off with it. He's got a 3-second gap behind him, between him and Jelmer. And we see Murphy and Little God, so I think we've got another battle out here. We have indeed. So Murphy's span and taking a dive down to 9th spot from all the way from 7th. As we see Totenkopf trying to get around the side of him there as he sticks to the inside. Again, trying to get a bit squirrely, that Mercedes. That Mercedes goes round and in as they go side by side into turn 3. And Merlin getting the better of Murphy this time. And this Mercedes will continue to slug it out. Lap 8 here at Zolder, with around about 30 minutes to go in our session, just over. So a third gone, 2/3 left. And what are we thinking in terms of weather? Have the skies started to open? I think potentially the rain is still coming down here. Does look like we're still getting droplets of water on the camera.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's gonna stop anytime soon.
Yeah, I think unfortunately for these guys that weather will remain for now at least, as these guys come into lap 9 now. Still a battle for second place going on between Jack, Lingabazinga and Destroyer. Gelman not quite in the action at this stage, but Lingabazinga starting to put the moves on again, starting to get right into the car in front's mirrors, and really starting to feel it, make the car in front feel his presence. Bit of a tap on the brakes though as he came into turn 3 as it is. Just trying to avoid the back of Jack's car, just try and get the run up now for the straight. And I think Lingabazinga's just about got the run done here, but Jack has got the inside line. Now you've seen these chicanes already take a couple of victims so far. Jack just about getting in within side track limits there. I think he's going to get away with that one, but it's not letting him get the power down, so he took a little bit too much of that chicane, too much of the rubbers, and that's just allowed Lingabazinga to get through, and again it's allowed Destroyer to catch back up. So completely different to what you see in some of the oval races that you might have caught at Flux Motorsport in the American time zones, where potentially you're trying to use the cars in front, use the fuel, and you want those cars in front of you, but the cars here just causing havoc with each other and allowing the rest of the pack to catch back up. Any advantages that you have gained, any work that you have done, all nullified, and the guy behind you right back up in your mirrors again. So Jack now has got his mirrors full of Destroyer again, and he's going to have to try and fight him off. We know Destroyer can put a quick lap in, and we know that the front of that Toyota, when it's pushed, doesn't behave. So I think Jack is going to really see it, which is a shame because he's done so well to get up to second place. I think we're going to see him drop back down potentially, all the way back down to 4th spot, potentially even 5th, depending whether Gelman can get a wriggle on in 5th spot. He's just coming round us now, just turned turn 1. Got the wipers on low there, so Gelman not looking like he's too affected by this rain. It's like he's just going for a leisurely Sunday drive, I believe. Blankfire dropping all the way back down to 6th spot now, so that's been affecting him a little bit. Potentially has got a bit of damage there. Looks like he did come off worse out of that interaction between the two, and that allowed Lingabazinga to jump through as well. So Merlin coming through from what was 10th place, that spin from Murphy just a lap or two beforehand, allowing a bit of a reshuffle down the back of the grid, and that's allowed Merlin to nip through into 7th spot. So both the panels is here. Got to be similar on power, similar on traction, similar to what the guys can put down. This could be a real slugfest here. Just going over to Destroyer again, and Jack in this battle for 3rd place. Destroyer not getting it right there, not getting the power down, so that's going to let Jack get away a little bit just coming into the final chicane. And let's try and take a little look at our lap time for you now. So currently eMotorsports setting the fastest lap with a 1:33.8. I think that potentially might be the fastest lap of the day. 1:33.8. Write that one down, McToasty. That's my bet for the day. 1:33.8.
And it seemed like it was by a decent margin, 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, I think he's got something locked down here that the other guys don't know. I think he's potentially found something to do with the tyres, something to do with temperature settings, or he's tried a particular tactic that separated him from the rest of the field at this stage. 16 seconds is a big gap with the 28 minutes to go, and I don't see him really slowing down much at this stage. I mean, he's currently putting in 1:35s, which is the same as Lingabazinga, and just a few tenths slower. So clearly got some pace. And Lingabazinga, you can see just coming out of camera shot there as Jack and Destroyer come into a double chicane section.
So either Mortalis is just starting to manage the gap after pulling away in the front, or he's running with worn tires now and thinking about coming in.
Well, I think potentially the guy, like you just said, worn tyres, literally as you said it, we saw Destroyer start to go around, and it's not the easiest corner. You do get puddling water on the inside there, but I think after, 12 laps, I think we're on 11, 12 laps these guys are running out, they're going to start feeling the tyres now. So I suspect within the next few laps, we're going to see a couple of people start to think about taking a pit stop. Depending, like you said, whether it's a 1-stop or a 2-stop strategy. If they're going for a 2-stop, I think potentially we'll get 1 or 2 coming in now. eMotorsports might be one of those. I mean, if you were racing and you were in the front with the 17-second lead as it is now, would you pit? Would you do a two-stop?
I think it's a more difficult call when you're in the front. When you're in the midfield or towards the back, you can afford to see what the weather is going to do and maybe make a more risky strategy and see if it pays off.
Well, these two certainly blowing caution to the wind here as they almost go side by side into the chicane again. I don't think it's leaving too much opportunity on the rest of the track because cars are struggling to get traction down. I don't think they're able to get quite the run out the corner that the guys want, so coming into the corner is the best opportunity, but also the most dangerous opportunity. So it's shaping up to be quite an interesting affair for the guys on how they're managing to take the turn in, as it were, and take the speed off. And I think it's just bravery. I think at the moment it literally is a bit of skill, but mainly bravery. So I'll give you a quick rundown of our order. We've got 25 minutes to go in our session. Currently at the top of the shop we've got eMotorsports. In second place we've got Lingabazinga with a 18-second gap now, so actually eMotorsports is still pulling away at this stage. In third spot we've got Jack de Menzes. In fourth spot, in that distinctive green and gold livery, we've got Destroyer. Again, great race from him today so far. Just behind him, solid runner Jelmer, always up there towards the front runners. And just behind him, Black Fowl, who isn't the panels that you saw racing just at the side of Jelmer there. And that's Jelmer just going through a back marker. Black Fowl in the white panels there in 6th place, followed by the other distinctive green and gold livery of Merlin there in 7th. Dirk Diggler not just quite coming into that section yet. Dirk a little bit further behind with a 20-second gap, or thereabouts, just to him and Merlin. Coming up in 8th space, TTV Giacomo, who's actually not doing too bad in this session after his qualifying session. Really struggled during qualifying. Potentially with the way that car's handling, looks like he's got a bit of damage there at the front end of the car. So potentially on lap 1 and lap 2, where we suspected there was a spin, but we didn't catch it through trying to follow with the front runners. I think Giacomo's potentially taking a bit of damage there. So just coming away from the coming down the standings, just we've got a couple of battles out on track. One of them is just behind TTV actually, which is Murphy and TC Thrasher, but in between those we've got Lil God. Lil God again, a lot of damage on that front end, was running up there with 4th and 5th spot, but looks like he's taken a heavy impact on the front end there. And Murphy getting that manoeuvre done, so Murphy coming up from the back of the grid and putting the moves on TC Thrasher there. So Murphy falling away down that order, and Jelmer's the first pit that we see, so Jelmer comes into the pits now. And that doesn't look like damage, I think that is tyres, so I think that prediction coming true there, the guys starting to come in, think about tyres now. It's about halfway through the race, so I suspect this lap, the next lap, we will start to see them. I think it's just the question, is eMotorsports going to flinch first or linger? I think that's really the question, isn't it, we're all asking.
Yeah, and what the weather does, a lot of these drivers might be hoping that it clears up and be waiting until then, but if it clears up much later in the race, then it'll be too late and those tires will just be, the advantage would be gone.
Well, I've just been taking a look at the weather stats, currently being based off of Google's weather predictions. Other weather providers are available, but looking at Google, and I think the weatherman says it's still raining. So I don't think it's going to dry up here. If so, it's going to be right at the end of the session. Potentially we'll be getting a little bit of break in the clouds, but on and off showers, I think, predicted for Zolder throughout the course of the race. So just going on board with a blank file here. Just going trackside with blank file. This blank file comes up to the back of Merlin here. So Jack and Destroyer now come into the pits. So the next guys to flinch are Jack and Destroyer. So no change for the front runners, and now that's another pit that we've got coming in there now. It is indeed some Merlin coming in the pits, allowing Blankfile to just run off on his own there. but whether we'll see that come out in front, depending on what the pit stop does, depending on which damage repair that the Blankfowl's got. Not forgetting that obviously there was that contact at the chicane there. So General's been released already from pit lane, and he's back out on track. Like I said, Jack de Menz is now just making his way out the pits, as we see Merlin in the background just sticking his fuel in there. So that's allowed Blankfowl to move up to third spot, and Gelman now just getting the jump back to return his position. He's back up into sixth spot. If you see Blankfowl just completely ignoring that chicane there, so that must have been a late break, or potentially the tyres are really losing it there. We see a spit of fire coming outside that panels. Again, I say this most weeks, but the sound of that car is absolutely amazing. It's got the growl of a panther or some sort of wild animal. Absolutely amazing sound of the car, but unfortunately it does look like she's suffering from a busted lip though. So Blankfowl will be struggling with the front end of that car, and that's potentially why he's cutting the chicane there. Not a common manoeuvre for Blankfowl, I can assure you. But it looks like Gelmer's pit stop has paid dividends, and he's come out just behind Jack de Menz. So not an awful lot of time between these two. So whether Jack's put a slow pit stop in, or Linga started to make moves up, Jack going a little bit wide there, so potentially Jack falling down the order a bit and allowing Gelmer to catch up. These guys battling for 5th and 6th on track at present. If you are just joining us, you're joining us just gone the halfway mark in our GT1 Championship. eMotorsports is currently leading the race with a whopping 19-second lead at halfway through. Lingabazinga in first place. They both yet to pit. As you can see, it's an extremely wet track here at Zolder, and a lot of spray playing havoc with not only the visibility but the aero as well. So if you are just joining us, please hit the like and subscribe button if you do like what you're watching, and hit the bell notification to get notified about our videos whenever they come online. If you do want to get involved in our championship racing, please do go to FluxMotorsport.com. That's FLUX Motorsport.com, where you can sign up as a driver, or you can look at the other services that we provide. From what this sheet tells me in front of me from our sales department, and they've just opened up the recent marketplace within inside the community that gives offers and discounts to all our drivers and racers from real sim racing manufacturers and suppliers, their products and services, and we've got community races and a whole host of other stuff that are available for free once you join the community. So like I said, please do come on down to FluxMotorsport.com and check us out. So just coming back to the action here, we're on lap 17. Like I said, eMotorsports leading, and currently we are watching the battle for what is 4th place between Gelmer and Jack de Menz. Jack de Menz will be desperate to get a decent finish after a couple of sporadic results, but I think probably the best way to describe it, coming in from the first race in 5th, and second race dropping all the way back down to 10th spot. He's going to be desperate to pick up some points here. Gelmer conversely came in 4th spot in the first race and 6th spot in the second race, so a much more consistent outing here from Gelmer. In terms of our standings for these guys though, we just nip over to our standings table. Jack de Menz is currently in 7th place for this season, and Gelmer all the way up in 4th, so the other way round with these guys finishing could actually see that level up a little bit, and actually see them amalgamate around about the same points as Murphy. Murphy looks like he's picked up a couple of spots back up here, up in 10th, so interesting to see. I think he's going to fall a little bit further down the order if he doesn't come further up the finish position of this race. I think he's going to be looking at potentially a 7th or 8th spot. Still be in the running for 5th spot in the championship. But I think Gelmer is definitely going to secure 4th place. If he finishes as he is, or if he can catch any further back up to the back of Jack. And it looks like Merlin's come out of the pits, and he's on the flyer as well, so last lap 1:34.9, but I suspect that he's going to be putting a much quicker lap in this time. 1:36.9 though for Jalmer in front, so why you can see that gap closing up there. Good couple of seconds faster. And he's certainly put the pressure on Jalmer as he comes to the final chicane now, so not enough space between them for him to benefit for the draft. So sorry, not enough of a gap for him to close up to him, but certainly too much of a gap for him to get into the draft. But I think with the lap times they're putting there, 1:35 and 1:37, again, still 2 seconds difference between these two lads out here. So I do suspect that Merlin's going to try and put the jump on Jalmer over the next lap or so. And again, I'm just trying to take a look for the weather. Looks like it's coming down in spits and spots at the moment, or if anything it looks like the sun might be opening up just a little bit, peeking through the clouds. Still running out on track at the moment, still watching for that dry line to try and open up, and some of the guys ditch into the pits. As we say that, Lingabazinga ditches into the pits, so Lingabazinga is the guy to flinch first. Immortalis, could he be going for a no stop? Surely not.
With the pace that he was showing early on, I don't think so.
I think he's been waiting for the opportunity for Lingabazinga to come in, and then directly after that we'll see Immortalis come in. So whereabout on track is Immortalis at present? So he's just coming. Right, okay, so he's just coming up to sector 3 now. As he comes through this back sector, we'll see whether he comes into the pits. Final chicane as he comes through, and if he doesn't take this and goes straight on, and he's not doing so, he's sticking it out here for yet another lap. I didn't think they could potentially do this on a no-stop strategy.
Me neither.
Yeah, he may be making that work. I mean, either he's filled it up to the gills or he's got extra rubber on his tyres, but he's doing something different to the other guys, I'm convinced. Great drive from me though today. 53-second gap at present. Yet to pit, if he does pit, and if not, that'll possibly be the biggest gap that we've seen so far this season in GT1. So back over to our battle for what is fourth spot again now between Jack, Merlin and Jalmer. Merlin did get that move done eventually, so coming through the first chicane section, it looks like he's got the speed, but it looks like he's just got squirrely just coming over the crest of that hill there. Jalmer not giving that up too easily. He's all over the back of him, trying to look for the inside that line there. Not managing to get it done this time, but he has put enough pressure on for Merlin to spin, and that is contact there. Not contact that Merlin caused though, so he doesn't actually let off, and he doesn't have to let that car through. That was just a racing incident as far as I'm concerned. But that he certainly will feel aggrieved for that, Jalmer, as the car in front spun and it's potentially caused front end damage on his car now. And that's going to make it much more difficult for him to get past. More action out on track here, as I think it is that little god just coming up to the back of Destroyer. So Destroyer all the way back down to 8th spot from what was 2nd here. Getting involved in a couple of accidents himself, as well as Steve being involved in obviously a great big front end slam there. As you can see, the damage still present there on the front of that panels. Whether that's going to be affecting him here, this is a good point actually, McToasty. With the rain here, with the temperature, do you think it's going to actually create more engine heat or less heat in the engine, and potentially get the engine to overheat? The fact that it's raining. I mean, I think I've seen instances previously where on a warm day where it rains, actually the engine can have to work harder because it's got to suck more air through, and there's more water molecules per air volume, and they actually have to work harder. Whether they're going to get that here today with the cold temperatures, as we see contact there. Ooh, and that was most definitely contact. A little rear end nudge there. It didn't take an awful lot, but Destroyer let him back off there, and certainly knowing that he's been the aggressor in that instance. Whether that's going to cause damage to him, whether he's going to see Steve going round, I don't know. It looks like he's managing to get the panels back on form though. Sorry, Toasty, I cut you there, but yeah, in terms of the engines, what do you think the engine's going to play out today?
Yeah, it all depends on the ambient temperature, and then how much the engine is revving in the high RPM ranges.
Oh, as we see Destroyer going off there. Yeah, and that is a full spin for Destroyer. So that is again just upsetting for him. But yeah, just coming back to what you were saying, I think potentially the temperatures are going to be a little too cold maybe here. So I think engine wear and engine damage might not cause an issue, like you said, unless they're absolutely slamming it through the gears and really bouncing it off the valves at the top end.
Right, that could be, the pinouts could be more affected by that without the traction control not being easy enough on the throttle going through the corner exits.
I think you're right there, and I think potentially we've got Jelmy here that he's starting to make some moves on the panel, so whether that is taking effect or whether it is just Jelmy trying to put turn the screw on him, as we see Blankfire doing it again there. So you see the difference in the lines there between both the cars. Where Blankfire went through and Jelmy went through, what Jelmy did just behind was probably considered acceptable. What Blankfire did just before, and that was probably considered just a little bit too much of taking the rubbers. All 4 tyres were actually over the white line at that point. So I'd be very surprised if he doesn't get a slowdown for that. Yeah, so Jelmy coming all over the back of him, trying to get the inside now. Blankfire trying to move over. He is allowed one manoeuvre. Jelmy didn't have his nose up the inside there, but he's certainly pushing hard to try and take this off him. Blankfire defending well, defending hard here. And you can see just in front there, as these guys are battling on track, you can see Jack still battling there. The guys go side by side. Ooh. And that probably will be a steward's inquiry. So that was really shutting the door there by Blankfire. And whether that's going to be deemed overly aggressive or I'm not too sure. We'll have to go against the stewards for that one. But as we said, just in front we've got Jack and Merlin just battling it out. And I think that was TC Thrasher that we were just going through the back of in the 11th spot, just to come through turn 1. So just getting out of the way and observing good etiquette and letting these guys battle it out. So just under 10 minutes left in our session, lap 23 so far. We haven't seen eMotorsports pit so far. Lingabazinga and the rest of the grid, most of the rest of the grid have pitted. I think 1 or 2 possibly haven't. And trying to go for a no-stop strategy as Merlin gets a bit on the grass there. And a very adventurous line there from Jack in front. That was futuristic even from Jack.
There's 9 minutes left in the race. Immortals' lap times are going to be falling quite heavily towards the end on one set of tires. His braking zones are going to keep extending, and he's going to have to brake earlier and lighter, maybe shifting the brake bias towards the front even, so that the back of the car doesn't slide around like we saw just there.
Oh, and I think that's caught up in the action there. Is that Jelmy that had gone round there?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe that was Jelmy and Blankfire again, possibly, that were caught up in that action in a similar place where they were caught up coming in the previous lap. Jelmy getting it back on track here, so it looks like we're on the green flag again. So all that action here, but it's been an absolute non-stop battle through this race, all the way through the grid, all the way back down to what is now 11th place. Obviously, we seem to have lost a few people who've retired here, potentially due to damage to the pits. So we'll have to try and bring an update on which guys were retired or which guys have retired through choice after the race. But currently, whilst we're still got 8 minutes left in our session, we've still got Merlin trying to take the jump for the final podium position here. He's trying to get that move up on Jack for third. Again, Jack really he's made moves all the way up. He got a good start. He's been second, third, fourth, and he's back up to third again now. So he's not going to want to let this go. Doesn't look like the race directors giving too many whistle blows there for the cut-in of the first chicane, but does look like they're taking quite a few liberties with that there, and I'm surprised that 1 or 2 people haven't paid more of a price for that. And am I correct in believing the rain's stopping? I don't know whether it's rain still coming down there.
Certainly looks to be lighter, yeah.
I don't think we can see a dry line forming at all, but whether the rain's easing it, whether it's becoming less wet out on track, that could be a possibility. That might actually change the dynamic for 1 or 2 of the cars here. it certainly seems to have let Merlin get back onto the as he takes the inside line. I literally cursed the commentator, but Jack giving it just as good back. So toe to toe here, literally blow for blow as they come through the last turn. And Merlin's still going to try and get the move done though, so as far as he sees, he's giving as good as he gets. Does go really shallow into turn one, making him run deep on the exit, but Jack not able to stay with him there, so I think potentially that's going to be it. Merlin's going to move through there and potentially get a little bit of a run now. Whether he's going to catch up to Lingabazinga, I think that's too far out of the question. Not unless there's something goes wrong, which we have seen with Lingabazinga. Can be really fast, can be really quick, but he's not completely safe from a spin. We have seen him spin once in this race already, and we did see him spin in the previous race. So we'll just try and give you a quick run down the order here though. So Blackfire dropping back down to 5th. So again, Blackfire did have a decent start, did drop back down the order a little bit, and has come into it a couple of battles of his own. Not having a bad race so far in 5th spot. Gelman in 6th, again, we've just seen him get involved in just 2 accidents there, so potentially pushing a little bit hard as we come into the last 5 minutes of this session. Little goal from sticking it out though. Steve's made it all the way back up to 7th spot, back down 11th at one point Steve, so making gains there. Diggler looks like he's unfortunately dropped a little bit further down the order, so a bit of a faller dropping back down here. Not lost too many spaces. And he's currently in 8th place. Destroyer has literally just come through on his inside and taken that spot away from him, so Destroyer up to 8th spot. Destroyer got to be the biggest faller here of the day, dropping from 2nd all the way back to into dead last on the grid, but currently back up to 8th spot and pushing Dirk Diggler down to 9th. Murphy qualified well, but didn't qualify well at all, and doesn't seem to have managed to have got a decent race in here, albeit did climb all the way up. Potentially due through to spins and a couple of mishaps on track, but got all the way up to 5th at one point and was making that stick. TC Thrasher currently in the other silver panels in 11th spot, which means we've had around 4 of our drivers retire, which will bring an update for you shortly. So iMotorsports still not pitted at this stage, but currently, like you said, McToasty, just coming back to his lap times, 1:42's the last few laps, and that gap to Lingabazinga was 50 seconds, it's now 23.
Yeah, Linga is absolutely flying at this point. He's not quite setting the 1:33.8 like Immortalis was early on, but he sees that gap falling, and I think he's still hoping for a win.
Do you know, I think you're right. I think it's a tall order. I think it's too much to ask at this stage. But is he going to stop trying? I think not. I think he's going to push right up until that fat lady's singing, and she ain't singing yet. So it does look like we've got more action with Jelma catching up to Blackfire again, and I think that's Immortalis just wanted to come through though, or potentially that's Immortalis falling, back down the order. But 138's from the last lap from Jelma, but 143 in front. So I think what's happened here is potentially they've come past Immortalis, because Immortalis is falling back down the order, his lap times are falling off, and we've got our first place leader that's just allowing himself to let the other cars around him unlap themselves, because it makes no difference. So 3 minutes left in our session. When we last reported it to you, 23 seconds left. That is a 5-second gap if my math is correct, and per lap, potentially we've got 3 minutes left in our session, so I just don't think there's enough time in it. I think he's calculated it right. I think unless he just completely lets off now, or he completely loses the car, I don't think Lingabazinga is going to catch him. But I think it's going to be close.
I think Immortalis just went around there in turn 1.
Did he reveal it? He looks like he's back on it now. I did miss that, unfortunately, but I think you're right. There's 10 seconds in it, and they've got at least another full lap to go here after this lap.
A 1:33.1 Lingo put in last lap.
A 1:33.1, I think that is potentially our fastest lap. That's just our timing board. It is indeed 1:33.1. If that is correct, that is going to be the fastest lap of the day. But Lingabazinga, again, not completely safe as he goes over the chicane there. And like I said, if you push too hard on that chicane, it really does bite you, and that's what we saw there. Lingabazinga pushing just a little bit too hard. I still suspect he's going to close that gap right up though. I mean, there's 9 seconds in it. It's whether we see the lap time from eMotorsports improving from the 1:42 up back into the 1:30 somethings. I think if he does that, then he's got it nailed. So it's eMotorsports to lose here.
We saw a very similar situation at Willow Springs in the GTEs. Cars, some drivers making no stops, and some drivers making 1 or 2, and the leader letting by lap cars on lap themselves, and see the same thing here.
I think that potentially, as far as strategy and tactics are concerned, I think the kids that are watching today can learn something from this. The answer to the question is get out in front, get as quick a lap times as you can, and then you've got the opportunity to to lead the race at your pace and not somebody else's. And I think it's that comfortability that just does it. It was just see, God just going past Jelmer there. Jelmer actually just allowing that to occur. I think he knew that Lugol was a bit faster in that section, and he's not going to stop him from coming through. But yeah, like you said, the 2-stop strategy there, Blackfire coming in for a stop. I don't think that was potentially strategy, more damage actually, but unfortunately forced to do a two-stop strategy here. As we come over to the last 20 seconds or so, let's just take a quick look where eMotorsports is on track. Just coming up into Sector 3, I believe, now. Yep, so we're just coming up into Sector 3 now, so this is potentially going to be his last lap as he comes through the final sector now. So it's going to be eMotorsports for the win, I believe, at this stage, but not an awful long way behind him is Lingabazinga with just 3 seconds and closing every single second. And that will be it, I think, as he comes over the line. Just coming through the final sector. I don't think we're going to get another lap here. And yep, eMotorsports for the win as he comes over the line. Lingabazinga comes over in second spot. A great recovery drive from Lingabazinga by the end of it, but just not enough in the end to take eMotorsports at that final corner. But what an absolutely great race between those two.
Yeah, very close at the end. Linga was really hoping for just one more lap.
Yeah, I think anything, I think he would have paid good money for another lap. So, but yeah, I think a great drive from all the guys here, getting a little bit twitchy, I think, as they came through the final, the final few laps, the final 10 minutes, as it was really. But Jack actually securing that fourth place spot, and Merlin just in front that we saw then, getting the third spot just as they come through over the line. And Lil God, again, a great drive, came all the way back down from 10th, 11th spot at one point, and from sticking it out, despite some nibbles from the rear end from a couple of different drivers on the way through. Again, another good drive, so yeah, another good performance from Lil God. Wouldn't have been as quite the finish that he wanted. I know Steve in the background, I know what he's like. He does like to try and get wins wherever he can, and GT1 is a brand new challenge for him this season, so what a great finish from him. Jelmer coming up in 6th spot, so just about to come through the final chicane now. Destroyer coming back up there from 10th spot, so managing to get some places back, but he's got to be disappointing with the drop from 2nd spot. Murphy climbing back up there, getting into 8th by the end of the race, so picking up another couple of spots, and Dirt Diggler remaining in 9th, which he dropped to towards the latter part of that race. Blank File actually getting in from that second pit there, dropping all the way back down to 9th, and TC Thrasher just behind him. I think that's been symptomatic of his entire race, just not really getting that panels to work here in the wet. So that was the rundown of our order. eMotorsports first, Lingabazinga second, Total Cop third, Jack Demens in 4th spot, Little God in 5th, Martin or Jelmer, as we call him, in 6th, the Destroyer in 7th, Murphy in 8th, Dirty Diggler 9th, Blackfile 10th, TC Thrasher 11th, and Giacomo in 12th place. So that has been it from the GT1 Championship for this evening. It's been an absolute wet but great race yet again. It's going to be even more interesting. We take a look at our standings table to see what that's done when we come next time, and we will bring you all that action next time. But just a little look forward from our GT1 Championship. Like I said, our 8 PM Eastern Standard Time. On Friday night we have our US sports car division, which is the GTEs, and that is, like I said, 8 PM EST or 1 AM on Saturday morning if you're in the UK. And then after that we've got our LMP2s and our usual Indy cars, as well as Sunday's races to come. So do tune into Flux Motorsport TV. Make sure you catch all the action. Like I said, if you are tuning in towards the latter part of this broadcast, do hit the like button, do hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon, to make sure you get all our videos. Feel free to come down to fluxmotorsport.com, where you can get involved in all the action, whether it's just motorsport that you want to get involved in just because you're interested, or whether you actually want to come out and drive in our championships, then feel free to come along. But thanks very much, McToasty, for being with us tonight, and thanks very much for a good sturdy job with the cameras yet again.
Oh yeah, no problem.
But yeah, from me tonight, and from the rest of the guys here at Flux Motorsport, it's been lovely to have you, Toasty. Thanks very much for joining us, and thanks to everybody else who's come along as well. But from us here tonight, good night.